Welcome to the Fantasy Throwdown Podcast. The Fantasy Throwdown Podcast. Bringing you the latest from the world of daily fantasy sports and gambling, so you can stop Googling how to join a squid game to cover all those parlays you thought were such a sure thing. Now, sit back and listen to one of the sharpest minds in the game. Here's your host, Dwayne Callender.
We have the beginning of the NFL season. It has finally arrived, and we have kickoff between the Rams hoisting their championship banners tonight, hosting the Buffalo Bills. And just so you guys know, even though the Rams are defending Super Bowl champions, the Bills are favored in this matchup. The Bills are 2.5-point favorites over the Rams. I want you to bear that in mind. In the offseason, we've heard a number of concerns about Matthew Stafford's elbow, how healthy he is. The Rams' offensive line has changed, obviously, with Andrew Whitworth retiring. The Bills are one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl and loaded up on the offensive line in the offseason. So the Rams got a bit worse. We don't know how much, technically, based off of the offseason transactions. You know what happens. Even though they get Cam Akers back healthy, and I think that Cam Akers is going to be a huge difference this year, I do think the Bills are a strong team right now. And so you got to kind of bear that in mind when you see this line. The public's going to go with the Rams. The Sharps, I expect to go with the Bills. And, it's interesting here because I can kind of see the money flowing in late to go back onto the Rams if that number gets higher than a 2.5. I mean, right now with it being a 2.5, you don't have the factor of a push or even 3.5 where the hook comes into play. Where I can see the Bills winning this game by 3. If the line gets to a 3.5, or I can't see it moving much further than that. I can see a 1-point movement. I can't see a 1.5-point movement. I think that'd be a bit crazy. But, stranger things have happened, but I don't see the line moving drastically that much. But if the hook comes into play and we see a 3.5 number pop up at some point, you could start going back onto the Ram side, because I do think, even though if this was a straight pick'em, I would take the Bills in this instance. You always get a little bit of a letdown with the Super Bowl champs. That's usually typically how it goes after winning a title. So it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world with a hungry Bills team picking up a win over the defending champs. Would not be shocked by that at all. But the 2.5 number is a big deal. Just because I can see this, it kind of works like an outright. Unless we get extra points or, we get 2-point conversions, I'd expect the Bills to at least win this by a field goal. More than that, then we get a little bit dicier. I don't expect a complete blowout. I'll have some DFS scripts for a complete blowout. And in that case, you want Josh Allen as your captain, and then you want a bunch of wide receivers between Stephon Diggs, Isaiah McKenzie, and Gabe Davis, most likely, and then maybe you run it back with Cooper Kupp in a blowout script. But because of Cooper Kupp's price, you may not even be able to fit Cooper Kupp. So you may end up being on Allen Robinson instead. And Allen Robinson's an offseason addition to the Rams this year in light of OBJ leaving being injured. Not necessarily having a number 2 wide receiver. The Rams needed to bring somebody in. Allen Robinson can definitely do the job. I think Allen Robinson's a great wide receiver pickup for them who'll help throughout the year. I'm not sure this is the matchup for it, though. I do think Allen Robinson's going to get some work tonight just because of the way the Bills are going to run their defense. I think they're going to have cloud coverage over Cooper Kupp and just kind of make sure he can't get into as much open spaces. So while I know folks are going to want to jam Cooper Kupp, from my approach from DFS purposes, I'll have Cooper Kupp in lineups, but I will not have Cooper Kupp in the captain. Cooper Kupp salary is $12 12,400 on DraftKings, 12,400 on DraftKings. He's more expensive than Josh Allen. It's like Josh Allen's 12,000. Just to put that in perspective, you got that 60K. Like Cooper Kupp's eating up so much salary, more than a quarterback. And realistically, if you're playing Cooper Kupp, you want to correlate it with a quarterback. And Stafford's 10-8. Like you're sucking up all your salary. So I think the folks who are going to play Cooper Kupp are going to play Matthew Stafford captain to try to do some salary savings. In my estimation, I can play Josh Allen in the captain, and I can get different with the wide receivers because I think the Bills wide receivers are in a pretty good matchup against the Rams. The Rams are going to play man-to-man defense. That means you got to beat your man off the line of scrimmage. You're not playing zone. And I like Gabe Davis quite a bit, and I also like Isaiah McKenzie. Obviously, you got Stephon Diggs, and while I do think the Rams are going to be in man-to-man, I do think they're going to give help to Diggs. I would say that the Rams should have learned their lesson with Jalen Ramsey going one-on-one with like top receivers just on an island and getting burned in the Super Bowl and almost costing them. But, stranger things have happened, and, you could get Stephon Diggs just having a monster game. But from a salary perspective, these guys are expensive. So with Isaiah McKenzie being only 2,400 in the flex spot, that means in the captain spot, he's only 3,600 because of the 1.5x salary. Because of that, I think my Isaiah McKenzie is going to be my favorite play tonight. And I'll tell you why. Isaiah McKenzie is the Bills. He's been worked in more into the offense over the past year, but traditionally he's been more the gadget play, the razzle-dazzle type of play where you kind of do, a couple of weird things in the offense just to kind of create big plays down the field. And opening night of the season, I could absolutely see the Bills busting out something that nobody's ever seen before and just kind of test it out. And who's the guy who's going to be on the field for that? Isaiah McKenzie. So to me, I think if you can get a couple of catches or even better, get a big play touchdown, you're basically mint in the captain because you'll have the salary space to fit in Josh Allen, Stafford, and Cooper Kupp together if you wanted to. And, I think that's just a good way of kind of going about it to kind of get the studs in, but find a guy that's cheap enough in the captain to allow for it that's not a complete punt. Because Isaiah McKenzie is not a punt play. He can absolutely be relevant enough to score in this game. And I could also see playing Gabe Davis in the captain. Gabe Davis is 7,200 in the flex, but in the captain, he's going to be a 10-8, which is more than manageable. You play him with Josh Allen. Now, the only thing I'll say is when you're paying for a receiver in that price range in the captain, that at that point, you don't necessarily want to correlate that with the number one receiver on the team. So in this regard, I'm actually going to be slightly down on Stephon Diggs because of the fact that, for Gabe Davis to go off, technically that means Diggs is still dealing with the double coverage and Allen's just going to pick on whoever's defending Davis. And I think that's how this game plays out. I think the Bills are going to do quite well. I think Josh Allen's going to be able to run on this Rams defense and find open space to take advantage of it. That's kind of what Burrow was able to do in the second half as well, kind of scramble and get down the field as well. And Josh Allen's way better at it too. So to me, I think Josh Allen scrambling is going to be a big deal too. So, I don't have any issues with putting Josh Allen in the captain, but I do like putting his receivers there for the salary savings, and then you can fit in some more of the studs. And, if you truly think this game gets out of hand with the Bills, they are going to run with Devin Singletary as the lead back. So I don't think you necessarily have to worry about the Zach Mosses of the world taking up carries from Singletary. I think it's going to be Singletary's backfield. Singletary you can get for 7,000 in the flex on DraftKings. I wouldn't put him in the captain or anything like that. I think this is just only a flex play spot. Don't go too crazy with it. And then, one other area I will always say for folks that they should be cognizant of are the kickers. Tyler Bass of the Bills is $4K. Matt Gay of the Rams is $3,800. The salary savings with the kickers is huge in the flex spot. Just because, all it takes is one long field goal. They hit a 50-yarder. They paid off their value because of the other points they're going to score from extra points. Again, it gets you different. And I think it's just something that always gets overlooked by folks when they're building lineups is they just forget about the points you can accrue with kickers and just bake those in at lower ownership than what you might get from some of these skill position players who may not get enough snaps on the field to be relevant. So, again, on the Rams side, I'm not big on a lot of these players. I'll see Cam Akers getting work in the backfield. I think you can run on this Bills defense, so I'm definitely good with playing Cam Akers. And if you want to build a Rams lineup with Akers and the captain, by all means, I think you can certainly get away with that. I wouldn't necessarily correlate that with the Rams defense, even though that's typically how you would run a running back captain is use the defense of his team as well to correlate. I think this game is going to be too high scoring to allow for any defenses to be played here. Obviously you get a defensive touchdown, but banking on those is always incredibly hard in my opinion. So I just don't think this is the slate for it. I think that's got to be a little bit too cute in terms of roster construction. So yeah, that kind of does it from what I would look to do on DraftKings. Now, over on FanDuel, it's a bit different because you don't have the 1.5x salary jump because of the points and the salary increase. Basically, the MVP spot gets the 1.5 without any salary change. So to me, this just becomes Josh Allen and Josh Allen. I just think Josh Allen's the best play in terms of FanDuel type scoring because you don't have the full point per reception in the FanDuel format as opposed to DraftKings where you do get a point per reception. FanDuel is a half point. Makes a huge difference in terms of building. And again, I don't think folks account for this nearly enough in terms of roster construction. So from my perspective, I'm going to be pretty much locking in Josh Allen in my view. I don't really see a need to deviate from that. I know some folks will look at Cooper Kupp, but again, Cooper Kupp to me is very dependent on having that extra half point per reception. When he doesn't have that, I just think there are better options. So to me, I definitely would lean more towards Cam Akers over Cooper Kupp on FanDuel because I think you can run on this Bills defense, and I think Cam Akers can get a rushing touchdown tonight. So I'll be looking at prop lines later, closer to the kickoff time of the game, just kind of sort that out. But yeah, from my perspective, this slate on FanDuel, I think you pretty much picking and choosing which guys you're going to pair up with Josh Allen because, I just think he's the best play on the board from the passing potential and the potential that he could just run it in for a touchdown as well. I just think it makes a world of difference in terms of how you kind of build out your rosters between the two sites. But yeah, that pretty much is all I got. I mean, FanDuel seems like it's going to be a chop as usual just because of the far more condensed format and what you can do with your lineups. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm going to get on out of here. But best of luck, everyone. As I said, to recap, I think the Bills do take this one, but you got to monitor the line movement to see if that 2.5 stays put or if we get up to 3 or 3.5, and then maybe that might entice some more action on the Rams. So that'll do it for me, but best of luck, everyone, and have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Throwdown podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all other major outlets.
waiting for this light to turn green. I'm headed to work for a boss so mean. I'm gonna be late. She's gonna be...
There are some things we should do alone, like sing in your car.
If this light doesn't turn, I'm gonna scream.
But when you gamble, you should always do it with others, because gambling with friends helps keep things in check. So go to keepitfunohio.com for more tips like this. Keep it fun, keep it social, but your singing? Maybe keep that to yourself.